The year is 2024. The world watches in horror as familiar flames of conflict engulf the Middle East. This time, however, the stakes are higher than ever before. The prize? Control over the region's dwindling oil reserves. For decades, the Middle East has been a tinderbox of geopolitical tensions. Competing claims to territory, religious differences, and the quest for power have fueled countless conflicts. Oil, the lifeblood of the global economy, has always been a central factor in these conflicts. This recent conflict has its roots in the growing scarcity of this precious resource. As global oil production peaks and demand continues to rise, tensions in the region have reached a boiling point. Old rivalries have resurfaced, and new alliances have formed, with each nation vying for control of the remaining reserves. The situation is further complicated by the involvement of global powers outside the region. These powerful nations, heavily reliant on Middle Eastern oil, have been drawn into the conflict, providing military and economic support to their allies. The resulting conflict has been nothing short of catastrophic. Intense fighting has ravaged the region, claiming countless lives and displacing millions. Oil infrastructure, vital to global energy supplies, has become a primary target, with pipelines sabotaged, refineries bombed, and oil fields turned into battlegrounds. The consequences of this conflict extend far beyond the borders of the Middle East, sending shockwaves through the global economy and threatening the delicate balance of international peace. The impact of the oil war on the global economy has been swift and devastating. As soon as fighting erupted and oil infrastructure came under attack, global oil prices skyrocketed. The price of a barrel of oil, once considered a relatively stable indicator of economic health, has become frighteningly volatile, subject to wild swings with every report of violence in the Middle East. This volatility has sent shockwaves through the interconnected global economy, impacting every corner of the globe. Developed nations, heavily reliant on Middle Eastern oil to fuel their industries and transportation systems, have been hit particularly hard. Emerging economies, already struggling with poverty and underdevelopment, have also been severely impacted, as the rising cost of oil has made it increasingly difficult for them to fuel their growing economies. The global financial system, already weakened by years of reckless speculation and unsustainable debt levels, is teetering on the brink of collapse. Stock markets around the world have plummeted, wiping away trillions of dollars in wealth and eroding investor confidence. The most immediate and visible impact of the oil war has been felt in the transportation sector. With oil prices reaching unprecedented heights, the cost of fueling cars, trucks, ships, and airplanes has become prohibitively expensive. Airlines, once symbols of global connectivity, have been forced to drastically reduce their flight schedules or cease operations altogether, grounding planes and stranding travelers. Shipping companies, responsible for transporting the vast majority of the world's goods, are struggling to stay afloat as the cost of bunker fuel, the heavy fuel oil used by cargo ships, has reached astronomical levels. The trucking industry, the backbone of the global supply chain, has been brought to its knees. Thousands of truck drivers have been laid off as companies struggle to cope with soaring fuel costs and dwindling profits. Supermarket shelves, once overflowing with a cornucopia of products from around the globe, are now bare as the intricate global supply chain grinds to a halt. Section 5. Empty plates, empty pockets, a world grappling with shortages and inflation. The combined impact of soaring oil prices, supply chain disruptions, and agricultural decline has plunged the global economy into a deep recession. Inflation, once a relatively tame economic indicator, has spiraled out of control, eroding the purchasing power of consumers and businesses alike. The cost of basic necessities, such as food, water, and shelter, has skyrocketed, pushing millions of people around the world into poverty. The middle class, once considered the bedrock of economic stability, has been hollowed out, as families struggle to make ends meet and their hard-earned savings evaporate. Social unrest, fueled by economic hardship and growing inequality, is on the rise, with protests and riots erupting in cities around the world. Governments, already struggling to cope with the multifaceted crises, are facing mounting pressure to address their citizens' concerns, but their efforts are often met with skepticism and anger. Section 6. Diplomatic deadlock, the frustrating failure of international efforts. In the face of this global crisis, the international community has been frustratingly slow to respond. The United Nations, often criticized for its bureaucratic inefficiencies and lack of real power, has been unable to broker a lasting ceasefire in the Middle East. Peace talks, initiated with great hope and fanfare, have repeatedly collapsed, as the warring parties remain entrenched in their positions and unwilling to compromise. The global powers, once seen as guarantors of international peace and security, have been divided in their response to the crisis. Some have called for a negotiated settlement, while others have advocated for military intervention. This lack of unity has only emboldened the warring parties in the Middle East, prolonging the conflict and deepening the global crisis. Section 7. The Shadow of Nuclear War. A chilling new dimension to the conflict. As the oil war drags on, a chilling new dimension has been added to the conflict, the threat of nuclear war. Several of the warring nations in the Middle East possess nuclear weapons, or have the capability to develop them quickly. As tensions escalate and the conflict becomes increasingly desperate, the risk of a nuclear exchange, whether intentional or accidental, has become alarmingly real. The use of nuclear weapons, even on a limited scale, would have catastrophic consequences, not only for the Middle East, but for the entire world. The radioactive fallout from a nuclear explosion would contaminate vast areas, rendering them uninhabitable for generate energy and security. Section 9. A world united, rethinking energy and embracing sustainability. The oil war has exposed the folly of our dependence on fossil fuels. For too long, we have relied on these finite and polluting resources to power our economies, at the expense of our environment and our future. The time has come to break this dependence and embrace a more sustainable path. Investing in renewable energy sources such as solar, wind, and geothermal will not only reduce our reliance on fossil fuels, but also create jobs and stimulate economic growth. Developing energy-efficient technologies will further reduce our energy consumption and lessen our impact on the environment. Embracing a more sustainable lifestyle will require a fundamental shift in our values and priorities. Section 10. From the Ashes of Conflict. A chance for a more just and equitable world. The oil war, despite its horrors, presents an opportunity for a new beginning. From the ashes of this conflict, we can build a more just and equitable world, a world where resources are shared fairly and sustainably, and where peace is not a distant dream, but a living reality. This will require a renewed commitment to international cooperation and diplomacy, a willingness to listen to and learn from each other, and a shared vision of a future where all people can live in peace and dignity. The challenges ahead are great, but so too are the potential rewards. By working together, we can overcome the current crisis and create a better future for ourselves and for generations to come. Section 11. Time for action, averting disaster and building a sustainable future. The time for action is now. The world cannot afford to wait while the oil war rages on, consuming lives, destroying economies, and pushing us closer to the brink of global catastrophe. We must act now, with courage, compassion, and a shared sense of urgency, to avert disaster and build a more sustainable future. The choice is clear. We can continue down the path of conflict and destruction, or we can choose the path of peace, cooperation, and sustainability. The future of humanity hangs in the balance. Let us choose wisely.